Peace, power, and love, people. Welcome back to the Power to the People's podcast, the People's Radio, your nonstop shop for Black excellence, financial freedom, along with mental health awareness and a lot of other things we're going to be talking about. I'm here today with the host, Q, and I'm the co-host, Trey. And we'll give a little recap of what we talked about last episode. We went into part 2 of mental health and some of the things that surface on that and some of the things that we can identify on the surface level. On the podcast episode before that, we talked about the root cause, some of the root causes of the mental health aspect and what that looks like and where that derives from. But today, we're going to clean it up a little bit with this final part 3. And what we're going to be telling you guys and teach you guys is how going from the last episode and implementing some of those things could really benefit you if you are having trouble with navigating your mental wellness and if you don't really know where to go with that. So today we're going to go ahead and unfold that a little bit. So some of the things that we were talking about, if you implement, if you can practice, was things like, going to therapy, getting a relationship with God and, praying, meditating, things like that. So what that looks like in your everyday life is you constantly being in a state of progression, right? You're constantly progressing in your mental wellness and your well-being. So another thing that we really honed in on is the fact that we don't just want you guys listening, right? We don't just want you to think that this is entertainment and we're just doing this to be cliche and things like that. No, this is really for the culture. This is really what the people need to hear. But not only hear, we also encourage you guys to implement some of the things that we're talking about. Because you and I, we do this on a daily basis. Like some of the things that we talk to you guys about is, a part of our daily schedule, like praying and meditating and things like that. So what are some things, or not what are some things, what do you think a person can take, from practicing certain things like that? Like how could they change their life by doing that?
I feel as though a lot of these things, of course, they're good practice, but how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Facts.
So if you start developing healthy habits, what happens is that habits, they're contagious. You know what I'm saying? So you would not only affect the people around you, but habits, right? This good book called Outwitting the Devil, they talk about habits work in pairs, triplets, quadruplets.
Right.
So as you start developing one good habit, what happens slowly over time, you start developing another good habit. And slowly over time, you start developing another good habit. And what happens is that you start, before you know it, you develop so many good habits that now the bad habits, either they're non-existent or they're not affecting you as much. And then that's when you really start making forward movement and progression. If you just try and put on a bunch of things all at once, right, you might start feeling overwhelmed. Right. So I would say, first thing is, let's develop a habit, right? Let's start with one habit.
One step at a time.
Yeah, and it could be a habit that's just waking up every day and just praying in the morning. It could be a habit of waking up and just reading 15 minutes of a book.
Okay.
Right, a good book that's not just going to be about a story or a novel, but it's really going to be some kind of wisdom, some kind of insights in that book. Another thing could be just going to the gym for 30 minutes, an hour a day, or doing some kind of physical activity in the morning for 30 minutes. Okay. Right? Meditating for 10 minutes a day. Right, you start with these little small habits. Don't do all of them at once, because what happens is you can start feeling overwhelmed. But if you start with one habit, you build that consistency, you build that discipline. What happens is you start seeing the benefits and you start enjoying it. And then once you start doing that, then that makes you want to add on another habit.
So let me ask you something. Could that be the same thing with a bad habit?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Like I said, right, habits work in pairs, right? Anything that is a negative habit is just going to attract another habit that's kind of negative like it. You know what I'm saying? So just to give an example is somebody don't brush their teeth every single day. You know what I'm saying? That's probably well, actually, that wouldn't be the best, because you're not doing something, right? A habit isn't actually an action of you doing something. Okay, a habit could be somebody, when you get off of work, you come home, you pop open a beer. Right, you pop open a beer to kind of rest your mind or settle in or whatever. Right, you do that maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. That starts developing as a habit. Then before you know, you start popping maybe 2 beers. And then now what happens is that now you're popping 2 beers, but now you're also watching TV when you come back. You start watching the news. Right. So now you go to work. Right, you maybe not get that much physical activity, then you come home, you put empty calories in you, and now you're chilling on the couch.
And those two habits coincide with each other now.
Exactly. Okay. They kind of fuel one another. Right. Now you get home and you're looking forward to watching TV with that cold beer.
Okay.
And you see what I'm saying? And now, then you could, and then what happens? Then you do this so much.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're not sleeping as much, and now you develop another habit of waking up late. You see how that? You see how they can start really
down
like
effect,
domino down effect. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So let me ask you something though. For the people who don't see their bad habits as so-called bad, how can we get them to see that this isn't so beneficial for you? You understand? Somebody who has the mindset of, oh, this is just who I am, or this is just what I like to do, or
I got something for you right now.
I don't see any detriment into this thing that I'm doing. So what y'all are saying isn't resonating with me. This doesn't seem bad to me, or they don't even identify it as bad.
I could tell you right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you could tell whether what you're doing or whether a habit is good for you or bad. 2 questions, right? What are your results? What results have you gotten so far?
Right.
By having this habit already, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, has this habit given you good results, positive outcomes, or maybe negative, or just kept you stagnant? Because a habit could keep you complacent too.
Mm-hmm.
A habit could keep you in the same place. That's one. And the second question, right, just for you to ask yourself is, take a habit and push it to an extreme. Like, let's say it's a habit of, we'll just do the beer example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you just take 1 beer every single day. Right now, let's say, okay, what if you do, instead of 1 beer, 2 beers every single day, and then you do that for the next 4 or 5 years? Start thinking about it. Okay, is that really going to be good for you?
Right.
Compared to if you drink maybe 2 bottles of water every day.
The compound effect over time.
The compound effect over time. You see what I'm saying? That's how you could tell whether a habit is good or not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like another habit could be.
First part is the net.
Another habit could be. Another habit could be maybe playing video games, right? You know, I like video games, I like gaming, but I do it in a moderation because I know this is more so my downtime, more so my relaxed time. But now, if instead of me gaming for maybe only 1 hour, 2 hours a day, what if I go to 4 or 5 hours a day?
Right.
Now that's less productive time towards something else. Now I'm going to sleep later. You know what I'm saying? Then if I do that for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, where you see what I'm saying, and I'm not making no money from it. That's going to compound. So for anybody who's trying to figure out, okay, is this something I should keep, something I should get rid of, just ask yourself, okay, what results do you have right now from having this habit already? And then if you were to take this habit to an extreme, where would you be the next 3, 4, 5 years? Because even if you do that with a good habit, let's say it's going to the gym, you go to the gym 2 times a week. Let's say you go to the gym 4 times, 6 times a week, and you do that for the next 3, 4, 5 years. You're going to have a built body. That's how you could tell it's a good habit.
Yeah, I want to add to that because I feel as though people who have these bad habits don't realize what it really stems from. Maybe they're trying to fill a void, or maybe they don't know what to do in their spare time, so they choose to play video games all day, or they choose to scroll on social media all day, right? They don't really know what to do with their lives. They don't know how to maintain and have time management. And I really think it stems from the fact that they don't understand that there is a chemical reaction or a chemical compound in your body, and there's different ones, but one of them is called dopamine, another one is called endorphins, and there's 2 other ones that I serotonin, and there's like another one that starts with cortisol, right? There's those 4, and depending on what you do, it fuels that chemical, right? For example, somebody playing a video game, they're getting all these, all this dopamine reaction, and it's making them feel good. Someone who's scrolling on Instagram, it's the same effect, right? But what if I told you on the other spectrum, it's the same exact thing that is feeding those chemical receptors in your body if you do something as simple as going to the gym, right? You get that positive chemical reaction in your body. Petting a dog, cleaning your house, your room, right? It creates that same chemical reaction in your body for you to feel good. So I do feel as though if we were more conscious of our body and, the chemical reactions and how that works and how some things and some habits trigger that, then I feel as though we could be in more control of the things that we're actually doing, like our habits. Right?
Yeah. Now, I believe that the first thing in real change is education, right? And education doesn't mean just having a bunch of facts or having a bunch of knowledge. Education is being able to use information to have a better outcome or get what you want out of life.
Right.
So it really starts with like understanding, okay, how does my mind work, right? How does my body work? How does my spirit, how does my habit work? Because serotonin, it's a chemical that is released. No, cortisone, excuse me. Cortisone is released when you're stressed.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So now you could be scrolling on social media, and if you see something you like, boom, you get a dopamine hit. But then you see something you don't like, boom, then you get a cortisol hit. Right. So now you hopping back and forth between stress, pleasure, stress, pleasure, stress, pleasure. And then what happens, that puts you in a very, it doesn't put you in a healthy state, that's for sure. But what happens is that you develop a habit of being in that state so much, your brain gets used to getting flip-flop back and forth. So now when you in a toxic relationship, it's more easy to stay in a toxic relationship because you get a dopamine.
Because it's comfortable. Your body is used
familiar.
to familiar.
It's familiar because it's the same thing you feel when you're scrolling on social media.
Right.
So now when they come home, right, you don't know if you're going to get a dopamine hit or a cortisol hit. But your body could be addicted to either or. Your body could be addicted to dopamine or it could be addicted to the stress chemical.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Same thing with junk food and bad food, right? Your body likes the rush of the sugar that you get and, you know, the aesthetics of the food. It may look nice. It may be plated, you know, well. But however, when you eat it, it's causing your body to work more and for you to produce more energy in order to burn off the sugar and the fat that you just ate. So that could be added to that as well. Now, as far as another practice that people could implement, like, do you think that meditation, it's a little controversial, but do you think that, a lot of people don't meditate, bro, honestly.
It's because they don't know how to.
And they don't see the benefit in doing so.
They know, everybody see the benefit. I think everybody know that, like, well.
They don't know the concept.
If you have a social media or if you don't live under a rock or if you're above the age of 14, everybody knows what meditation is.
Yeah, they know what it is.
They just don't know how to do it.
Or they don't know what it does either, though.
Yeah.
Like the benefit from it.
Yeah, it's because you don't see the benefit the first time you meditate.
True.
You don't see it even, I don't think you even see it maybe the 5th or the 7th time you meditate. When you develop the habit and the consistency of meditating, that's when you're able to really start reaping the fruits of your labor. Because what meditation does, it gives you the opportunity to be still. It gives you the opportunity for you to really analyze your thoughts, right? It's called the Watcher's effect, something like that, right? Where basically you take yourself out of your own mind and you're just watching your thoughts come and go.
Yep.
Right. And then what happens is now you start learning how to not identify with those thoughts, because thoughts, right? Thoughts lead to feelings, right? And then feelings lead to actions and actions lead to results, right? So if you're able to learn how to just sit and just watch your thoughts, you'll start seeing like, yo, you have a really negative way of thinking. When you start really analyzing your thoughts, you're like, yo, why am I thinking this way?
But just to add to your point,
give you that chance to do that.
You shouldn't judge that either. You shouldn't judge yourself too much for having a negative connotation on how you're thinking. You know, give yourself a safe space to identify, the thoughts that you're thinking, and if they identify as negative, say, okay, where is this deriving from? How can I change this? You understand? If you're too judgmental, then it doesn't give you the room to even want to do the wiggle room. You'll just be so focused on, dang, I have a negative mindset. Dang, how can I? You don't really think of the how to. You think of the it factor. You understand what I'm saying? So I think what you're saying is definitely vital for anybody who's trying to do that. And we don't just encourage that. We encourage praying as well. Also.
But let me say something to that about prayer, right? Because coming from a very religious background, right, having a pastor father, right, a minister mother, growing up in the church, the problem with prayer is that when people go to pray, they pray with bad expectations.
Yeah,
and they go to praying thinking that it's kind of like a bargaining, right? They go to prayer thinking like just ask and you shall receive.
Yeah,
right? Which for sure, you should ask, you should put what you want out in the universe, but don't go to prayer thinking that, you're just going to ask God for something. He's just going to hand it to you. It's just going to happen without
wave a magic wand.
Yeah, just wave a magic wand without you putting any actual real work in to make that prayer come into full fruition.
Faith without works is dead.
Exactly. Faith without works is dead. You know what I'm saying? So when you go to pray, I highly recommend you go to pray, and you should do it in this kind of order. When you go to pray, go from a place of gratitude and go to a place of where you're demanding of what you want, right? Not like, oh God, if it is your will, or if it is something that you want for me, make this happen. No, God, this is what I want to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Make it happen the best way you want it to happen. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're basically telling God exactly what you want, and then you giving him the room or wiggle to make it happen how you want. If you go and just say, hey God, if you're going into like, oh, if it didn't happen, oh, God didn't mean for it to happen. So what that does is that leaves you little room for accountability when it doesn't happen. You just blame it on God, bro.
Right.
It's something that
It
God
wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be.
That.
No, bro. You didn't put no work in.
Right.
You didn't put no work in. So, and you're just trying to use that as an scapegoat. You feel me? Which is not right. Now, if you go and say, God, hey, I want this job. I'm going to do everything that I can to get this job. Right. Do everything in your power to make it happen. Boom. You see what I'm saying? Now you know, like, hey, look, if it really doesn't happen, now you know for a fact you did everything that you could, right? You already prayed to God, and now you don't have this place of like regret, or you don't feel so empty. You know what I'm saying?
It might just not have been the right time.
Right? Yeah.
Or it might not have been for you if you did everything you needed to do to get that.
And then that's how you know for sure. But compared to if you just, you just ask God for it and you just kind of be lackadaisical with it, right? You just go to the interview just expecting like, oh, God is going to speak through me. He's like, nah, bro, you didn't do no research. You didn't look up the company. You didn't come. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you feel me? And I see this a lot in people who are in the church, right? They ask for health and they ask for finances, but they're still, out of shape, right? They're still broke because you just go to church and you ask for it, but you don't do the work outside of church.
I want to add,
right? When you get into the feelings of it, you get all excited, but then all that excitement leaves. You see what I'm saying? You got to be inspired, not motivated.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because that's different. Inspiration happens even when you don't want to. Motivation is just in the moment.
And it's temporary. It's very temporary. If you only rely on motivation, you're only going to do things when you feel motivated. That's why discipline outweighs motivation by a ton. You know what I'm saying? When you have that discipline, you're more willing to do it even when you don't want to do it. Hence, the definition of discipline is you doing things that you necessarily don't feel like doing. But you said a key point, because I feel like it's not even in a church where people pray for things that they want. Just people in general. How many people do we talk to and say, oh man, I want this to happen, or I want to start this new business, or I want to lose this weight, and I want to feel better, I want to look better, I want to have my mental health at a heightened state. But we have to ask people, what are y'all doing? You're just wanting, or for people who are spiritual or religious, if you're just praying, you're not putting any work in, then you're going to stay stagnant. There's not going to be anything that comes from that, right? Everybody knows that, when you're wanting something, you have to align with that thing, or you're not going to get it. So for everybody who's trying to do something, we encourage you guys, like, it's good that you have dreams and aspirations and things like that. We're not cutting your dreams out. We're just saying, stop being so lazy, or stop being so lackadaisical. Like, if you want it bad enough, and like you say, if you have that inspiration, then you're going to have that fire in you to be able to do whatever you want to do, even if you don't feel like doing it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can only control what you can control. So put try and control as many things as you possibly can. But understand, anything that you can't control, don't stress yourself too much about it, because it's beyond your control.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What you can control is how you smell when you go to the interview, what you wear, right? Getting there on time. You know what I'm saying? Right? If there's a car accident that happened, you can't control that. So you shouldn't get flustered while you're in traffic. You should be like, okay.
You can control how you think about it, though.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What you can control in that moment is called the interviewer. Be like, hey, listen, you know what I'm saying? But if you just try and, get flustered, you don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like, now you just missed out that window of growth. And I think that this would definitely help a lot of people when it comes to prayer, because I had to actually change how I prayed. Because a lot of people go into prayer thinking that their prayer isn't going to be answered, so it doesn't happen. Right? A lot of people go into prayer, kind of feeling already defeated. They only go to God when it's the last ditch effort, and you shouldn't do that. I feel as though you should pray every single day as a form of communication with God. Like, you're just checking in, like, yo, what's up, pops? Like, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? And I think this layout is really good, because pray, right? Pray. I seen this one time, like on a video. It was really good. It says the P is for praise. So you basically give some gratitude, right? Praise God. Like, I'm appreciative for where I'm at right now. I'm appreciative of, the clothes on my back, for the food, right? You give them some praise, right? Show gratitude. Then the R is to repent, right? If there's anything you feel that you've done that, that your father might not be the happiest about, or, something that you feel that you're dealing with internally, or that there may be something that you feel guilty about, that gives you an opportunity to repent and ask for forgiveness. Then the A is to ask, right? And not ask, you can ask for, to get something. You can ask for, to be in a certain position. But I think the best way to ask is to ask for more wisdom.
I was just about to say that.
You know what I'm saying?
On how to do whatever you're trying to do.
Right? Ask for more wisdom, ask for more insight, ask for more direction. Because then that's gonna go a lot bigger, because God gave us free will for a reason. He didn't give us free will just for us to go to him for every single thing. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you ask for that insight, for that wisdom, that's something that he could really give you right then and there in that moment. Intuition is real for women and men. Intuition is a real thing. And then the why is to yield. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Right. The why is to kind of, leave it up to God, right? After you pray about it, don't think about the prayer so much. Stressing yourself out.
Yeah.
Leave it up to God, and then you go put in the work.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. That's fire, bro. I ain't gonna lie. You're gonna have to send me the video on where you seen that. I feel like if people, implement that in their prayer life, then I can see them getting some more results. But also, like you say, don't just use prayer as a last result when you really are in a dire situation, as an emergency, right? If we're just think about it. It's kind of an extreme example, but like just thinking about, knowing how to fight, for example, right? Let's say, you're not that violent. Yeah, I know, right? Let's say you're not that violent of a person, right? You don't really, but you're a man, so you want to know how to defend yourself. So you go to boxing classes and you're prepared. And let's say, an opportunity strikes, someone hits a woman, or there's a situation where a man is, I don't know, being disrespectful to a family member, and he's being over aggressive, and you step in and then y'all get into it, and then you handle business. How you supposed to handle business? Versus someone who doesn't know how to fight, and there's an emergency situation where your family needs you, but you don't work out, or you don't have any boxing skills, so you go into the fight and you get a couple haymakers thrown at you and end up getting knocked out, right? Now you want to really win a fight, but how prepared were you? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is why things like meditation and prayer are very vital for your not only spiritual but mental health as well, because you don't want to have an emergency and then make a 911 call to God and then expect him to deliver whatever miracle that you want, right? When it might not be in his will to do so, or
really think of God as a real parent. Right?
Yeah.
As a real parent. Imagine you never talk to your parents.
Relationship, yeah.
Like a real relationship. Imagine you never talk to your parents, you never check in, but the moment something happens, you call your dad I need $500 right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, I never heard from you. You better go find out how.
Exactly.
And the funny thing about it is God is so loving and forgiving that he probably might still give you that $500.
Right.
But the problem is that now you might develop a bad habit of trying to come to him every single time when you need him in an emergency, but then when shit really hit the fan, then he might not be there.
Right.
But if you start developing that relationship, right, and then that's why I believe that this is my strife here with Christianity. I believe that they don't really teach meditation.
They don't.
So it's just really about ask. You just pray, because I think prayer is when you talk to God, and meditation is when you let God talk to you.
Right.
Because he's the one feeling those thoughts in. You know what I'm saying? Right. He could give you good thoughts. He could give bad thoughts. And you could get bad thoughts from the devil too. So I feel as though that's where the religious aspect have lost their disconnect, that they're not taking any kind of accountability. You know what I'm saying? They're not giving God the opportunity to speak to them, letting them know hey, yo, bro, you should be the one trying to get yourself somewhere. I'm gonna help, but don't think that you got this magical wave of wand where you just go to me and pray and everything's gonna happen. Right. That's where that disconnect is right there.
I want to segue this into perception, right? Perception is a key component into how things happen in your life and how you're able to look at, the world in front of you, right? A lot of people, we actually have a lot of worlds going on, a lot of different worlds going on simultaneously, right? Hugh's thinking a certain way, viewing the world a certain way. I'm looking at the world, viewing it a certain way. And in my personal opinion, it's a beautiful thing. However, when your perspective is only so narrow, there's only so much that could fit in there, right? There's only so much different viewpoints and ways you can look at something. And to me, that's kind of limiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you guys an example. The car crash, for example, right? Or let's say you're late to work. So someone who's running late to work, let's say this is their second time in a week being late to work, and they're really scared that their boss might say something. They're frantic. They're just thinking a whole bunch of negative thoughts on the way, like, oh my gosh, what if I get fired? Things like that. And they're so stressed about this. Versus the person like, okay, you know what? I'm a bit late, but I don't feel as though I might get fired. Matter of fact, I think that I'm late because, like, let's say that there was a car crash that I might have got into on the way to work. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm late for a reason. Really, I'm on time because if I was, arriving at a certain time, maybe a car would have hit me, or maybe I would have hit somebody running through the intersection or something like that. Yeah. Looking at life with the glass half full versus the glass half empty. And when you have an optimistic mindset, it allows for positivity to flow within your brain and in your body, and for you to continue to circumvent those certain thoughts to where you just have a cycle of positivity flowing within you. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of thinking so negatively with a negative perception, you think positively, and you're more prone to positive results happening to you, right? How many of us at times where we don't feel as energetic or we don't feel as positive, we let our negative thoughts get to us. We all have those days. But for the person who has a narrow mindset all the time, I encourage you to try to broaden your perspective and your perception on life, because it could help your mental state, right? If you're constantly looking at things like a negative Nancy, then those chemical reactions in your body are constantly being stressed out, right? Your body is constantly being under stress due to the way that you're thinking and the quality of your thoughts. And that's not producing any good fruit. Right? Yeah. We all want to be functioning good. We all want to be at our highest self, our best self, and it all starts with the quality of our thoughts. So to anybody who's listening, I definitely encourage you to try to broaden your perspective. I know some people who claim that they're realists look at people who's optimists with a certain viewpoint. Like they're like, look at this guy, you know what I mean? And I'm one of those optimistic people. But I also have a good percentage of myself, a good balance that's realist, right? You don't want to just be too optimistic to the point you're naive. You know
I think that's a fact.
Yeah,
that's
you don't want to just be
I feel like there's definitely like extremes. There's definitely extremes to kind of both sides, and you hit it on the nail. You don't want to get to the point where you're so optimistic. Yeah, like you said, you're naive, or you're kind of overstepping, or ignoring red flags,
right?
Because you're just so optimistic about it. But at the same time, right, you don't want to be so pessimistic and so negative that you start painting red flags that aren't even there.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
You see the negative and everything instead of seeing the positive.
And I think that really goes into like we said about mental, like your mental health, because a healthy mind, right? Just like we could even compare it to like an engine, right? Like when an engine's healthy, it's clean, right? It sounds good. The car moves good, right? The fumes aren't that bad. But when the engine is running on old oil, it's all dirty. You know what I'm saying? It's been sitting for a while. How that engine sound?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And it's the same way with what comes out your mouth, right? It's the same way with how your brain works. If your brain is healthy, it's clean, right? Positive things are gonna come out your mouth. Right, but if you're not putting in that legwork in, right, you just consuming negative stuff, right? And when I say consume, everything you put into your body and in your mind, you're consuming it, right? From the content you watch, to the music you listen to the food that you eat, to the people you surround yourself with, and to the thoughts that you have. Those are all things that you're consuming,
right?
So I literally say, like, if you want better habits and you want better results, start putting better things in your body. Start, you know what I'm saying? Start like. Use better oil. Use better oil. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna really get you very, very far.
If you want your car running longevity, like my boy said, use better oil. We're gonna hit you guys with the outro, but we want you guys to continue the conversations with your families, with your friends. Continue the conversations in the comments below, and definitely we want you guys to share this video. But this 3-part series was very important to some of the things that we've been seeing in today's society and the effect that it has. We talked about the root cause of everything pertaining to mental health. We talked about the identifiable surface things that we also see. And then we gave you guys a lot of blueprint direction on where you guys could go and how you guys could better deal with certain things that aren't being talked about, or certain resolutions that you guys might not hear. So we definitely want you guys to be participants and be proactive with certain things that we discussed. And other than that, big thing, just continue that conversation for sure, and be proactive with, a lot of the things that we said. Now, that's all I have to say. You want to hit them with anything else?
Nah, man, I think you really said everything. Yeah, just continue this conversation. Try to have these kind of conversations not only amongst your family members, but in your friend groups, right? Because that's really where like the work really begins when the camera turns off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you close the laptop or you click off of the video, that's really when the work like really begins, because nothing's going to change while you just listen to the content or the material. You actually got to start implementing it. All right, just take some of these tips that we talked about, finding that outlet, right? Getting to know yourself, right? Getting into meditation, developing a relationship with a higher power, higher be, whether that's God, Allah, Yahweh, Kemet, right? Or your higher self. Whichever, doctrine that or Jehovah, whichever doctrine that you align to, just make sure that you just put in the work, because at the end of the day, your mind, right, is your greatest asset. It really is.
And I want to add this as well. As far as the whole mental health component, we really need to stop pointing the finger at other people and blaming them for the reason why we're having certain reactions when we aren't emotionally, aligned or having certain emotional control. Right. That's another point we talked about. But just taking full accountability for how you react and how we can move forward and things like that. So definitely want to take control of your life by taking accountability, putting the work in, and continue to have the conversation like we stated. But we definitely want you guys to comment on some of the things that you like that we talked about and that were highlighted in this video. Let us know what other topics you guys want us to talk about, and definitely like and share, subscribe for more. And the link in the description below will have some resources for you guys, but also we'll have our socials.
Yes, sir.
Until the next episode.
Peace.